Hi, everyone. Welcome to Potluck Food Talks. Today, we have a special guest. I'm with Yingxin Huang. She's a pastry chef residing in Paris. We met in Paris on my last trip, and it was my first lunch in Paris. Some friends brought me to her place, and I remember it was a grill, and she was doing some amazing food. It was like my first taste of Paris. And today, we're going to talk about China and France and pastries.
Yes.
How are you?
Hello, Eric. I'm very fine. Thanks.
We have to talk a little bit about sweets and desserts. And you're Chinese and you're also a pastry chef. What's the deal with sweets and desserts in China? Because I've been to Chinese restaurants and it's very different. Like from Europe and the West, it's more like candied fruits, right? Like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell me about the main difference between China and Europe and sweets?
Okay, so it's quite different. I can say two things different. So first things is like the Chinese pastry, for example, for the the pasta nata in Portuguese, the puff pastry is made by butter.
Yeah.
But in China, if we make puff pastry, it's usually made by the grass of pork.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
So it's different. It's like one is from the cow and one is from the pork.
I know for sure there are many old desserts here in Europe as well that use pork fat and animal fat instead of butter.
Yeah, so they in China they use the pork's fat to do the puff pastry. So what's the difference? It's like the puff pastry, they can give texture much more soft, much more crunchy.
Also like grainy, right?
Yeah, it's like a very soft and a very...
Like a pâte brisée, something like that?
Yeah. It's something like that. And it's like when you eat it inside and it's like it melts. Yeah, so it's different from the puff pastry here in Europe.
Yeah, what you're describing reminds me of in South Spain, there are like the polvorones. I don't know if you know them.
No.
They're also made with, if I'm not wrong, with pork fat.
So maybe it's the same.
Yeah, it melts in your mouth and it's also it feels like a very fine sand, something like that.
Yeah. So you got that. So that's one thing that's different from the Europe pastry. And the second thing is, that in China, a lot of Chinese dessert is it's liquid.
Yeah, I was in a Chinese restaurant in Singapore, and the dessert was like candied fruits, kind of in a very liquid something that you would eat with the spoon like a soup.
Yeah. So the reason I think is maybe people in Asia, we usually like something hot to make the cooks feel hot and warm. So that's one reason why we have some dishes we are much more liquid than in Europe. And after that, it depends on province one more time. So for example, the province from the south, we have much more sunshine, so we have much more of fruit. So we can do a lot of liquid dessert with the fruit. For example, with the mango, with pomelo, with coconut. A lot of fruit can be used to do the liquid dessert in our province. And otherwise, in some province like in the north of China, they do some liquid dessert with the sesame, with the almond to do a pasta of this nut. So it's a difference for the liquid dessert in China.
Okay. And the other thing I wanted to ask you, because I've seen it in your Instagram, you have hundreds of pictures of amazing pastry shops in Paris. It looks like you go a lot to try new sweets in the city. And Paris is probably one of the best cities in the world to eat desserts.
Yes.
Could you share, I don't know if you have favorite places and favorite things to eat? When I remember going, of course, to Pierre Hermé, which I think it's a must.
Yeah.
I had like a box with 15 different macarons, and I also tried like the ice creams, and it was like I would definitely go back. It's amazing.
Yeah, you should. And yes, of course, after so Pierre Hermé is one of my favorites in Paris. It's really, really so good. He is like the master Picasso. We call him Picasso of the pastry because he has a lot of good flavor and inspired a lot of people who love pastry.
I started cooking almost 20 years ago, and he was big back then already. I remember back then like having books of him and looking for his recipes and learning a lot about desserts from his books and everything.
Yes, that's it. And so after Pierre Hermé, I would love to recommend La Durée. And it's a lot because it's very, La Durée is very famous because it's a big maison. It's like also famous for his for the macaron, something like this. But I recommended it because the pastry chef, the head pastry chef who lead the La Durée Maison is a chef that I love a lot, and all his creation, it's amazing. So that's why I recommended the La Durée. And the chef of La Durée, his name is Julien Alvarez. So when you heard Alvarez, yes, he's a Franco-Espanol.
Okay.
And so he won the champion of the pastry, world champion pastry for Spain.
Okay. Do you have like a favorite thing to eat there?
His lemon tart is the one thing that I love the most because, in fact, before I don't really like the lemon tart because I usually found that there is the flavor of the egg inside. So I don't really like that. But his lemon tart that changed my mind because his lemon tart is with a lot of combinations of flavor inside that take off the flavor of the egg white, and that changed my mind of the lemon tart.
Actually, the one that I would always make was a recipe from Pierre Hermé. And it was I remember it would have like a lot of butter. It's like 80% butter and lemon.
yeah. So it's old school and the new school. We can say that.
Yeah, but it was incredibly delicious.
Yeah. And so La Durée, if you go back to Paris, you need to go to try his lemon tart.
Okay.
Yeah, and the third one I would recommend is the chef from the Hit Hotel. So the chef is called François Perret. And his pastry is impressive because he's like doing something like the in French we call that trompe-l'œil. That means he do the same pastry, but it's not the real pastry. It's different from Cédric Collet. His pastry is, for example, one of his famous one is the Madeleine. And his Madeleine pastry is not just a Madeleine cake, but it's like a entremet. It's like a pastry, and he do that like a Madeleine form. But inside, they have the cream, they have the mousse, they have the caramel, they have the biscuit, and it's like a combination of the pastry.
So it looks like a Magdalene, but it's like a petit gâteau, something like that.
Yes, that's it. And it's really, really so good. And the flavor, the combination, and it's very light and very delicate. And it's like, wow, you are feeling you had a very good moment every time when you taste his pastry.
I love when desserts are like that. When desserts are subtle, low in sugar, low in strong flavors. That is something really, really, like delicate and subtle. Not like this, bam, lots of sweet and lots of everything, like.
Yeah. Yes.
You mentioned Cédric Collet. He became like quite a pastry celebrity.
Famous tree. Yeah, he's very famous, and he's very famous for his
mimetics. Right? Like the things that look like a fruit but it's something else.
Yeah. It's very interesting too. And I think it's also a very big creation that he's doing. And he inspired a lot of people who are doing the pastry in his way. So yeah, I think he's also a quite big chef that inspired a lot of people.
Yeah, I follow him on social media, and it's always fun to see how he makes these things that look like something else. It's like amazing.
Another one is like it's called Yingxin Huang. I don't know if you ever heard him.
No.
And this is also a pastry chef. He's doing quite a good pastry. He used to be a pastry chef in a big hotel, and then he opened his shop. I think now maybe he has 4 and 5. I don't remember. But anyway, he has some pastry shop now in Paris. And what he's doing, the pastry is like the pastry simple and natural. That means, that some of pastry chefs, they love to use the color, for the preparation, but all his pastry is natural. It's like he don't add any
color. Okay.
Any color or anything addictive to his pastry. I think it's really important because nowadays we always want to eat much more healthier and lighter and for the pastry or even for a lot of things. So I think the way he's doing the pastry is good for the future because everyone want to eat healthier.
Yeah, it's a big topic as well. Like especially a lot of pastry chefs who use a lot of artificial flavors, and sometimes you're like, oh, this is really nice, and then you check the ingredients and it has like artificial aroma of whatever, and that's actually not good for flavor perception. Like you lose like the contact with the flavor, the real flavor of things, in my opinion.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about like being Chinese and being a pastry chef in Paris. Like, do you use like your cultural heritage and your desserts? Do you have like Chinese components when you create a new dessert or something?
I'm someone with an open mind, so that means I would love to try a lot of things different and do some combinations. So I already did some pastry or some plate dessert with like a Franco-Chinese combination. That means I do a pastry with some Chinese ingredients, but with the French technique. For example, I did a biscuit sablé. Yeah. I do the form or the skill come from the French skill. But for the sablé biscuit, I put some sesame inside, and I put some flavor that we use a lot in the Chinese dessert inside to make the sablé biscuit.
I once tried out soy sauce merengue. It was really interesting. Yeah, it was like a great merengue. It was actually not for a dessert. It was for a savory dish, but it was really crazy because you would try these things and it would pop in your mouth and you had like this intense soy sauce flavor. It was really nice.
Yeah. I think it's different. It's like in Asia and maybe, I don't know, but I feel that people always very they are very open-minded to do some new creation, some new combination between the different culture. And in Europe, maybe I can understand too because people are very proud of their culture, their creation. So they always want to do something to keep it.
Yeah, to preserve the tradition. Yeah.
Yeah. So they are not very easy to accept to do something like a mix with different culture. I found.
Yeah, and for me it was super funny in Singapore. Like there were like these burger places or pizza places that you would see like the Asian twist, like burgers with I don't know, like a Thai curry ketchup or things like this.
Yes, that's it. That's the funny things that I love a lot in Asia because you can find a lot of things different and funny. For example, last month, when I had 2 friends who came to China to visit me and pass the Chinese New Year with me. And then one day we passed by a Domino. We also have Domino in China. And it's very funny that the Domino, they are doing a pizza like it's a pizza, but it's with the Chinese flavor. It's like with the Chinese sauces on inside, and with the Chinese seafood, they put the squid. In Asia, we can do a lot of different, interesting, funny combination that maybe you can't never find that in Europe.
Yeah, in Europe for sure not. In America maybe.
Yeah. Maybe, America maybe. Because people, I think it's important to be open-minded, to have an open mind to do something like this. Because with open mind, you can discover a lot of things and you can taste a lot of new flavor. And
Yeah, I completely agree. So, and talking about Europe, China, and there is this restaurant that really interests me in Paris called Yamcha. That is like a small Chinese tea place with Yamcha, which is actually a way of eating and drinking tea, if I'm not wrong. But this is like a French chef. Like, what's the deal with this place? Have you been there?
Well, actually, I used to work inside for 1 month.
Okay.
As a pastry chef. But then I left because the working time, I can't bear working time because, it's in the restaurant. Then it's a Michelin restaurant. It's like you work from the day to the night. And even the weekend, the only things that I can do is just like on my bed. So
yeah, I've been there.
So it's too much for me, the working time. But the concept of having the tea with different tea for different step, for different plate is a very creative and tasting menu and a very interesting menu to for people who want to discover the mixture between the Asian cuisine and the European cuisine. So I think it's really nice to do that.
Yeah, that's a place I would like to visit. It's super small, right? It's like 12 seats only, something like that.
Actually they have 3 places. So the one I work is the one Michelin star restaurant. So they have something like 25 places. And they also have another like a bistro. It's called Lai Cha. It's like a restaurant, but not a Michelin restaurant. And it's maybe they have a 30 place, something like this, that you can have some tea there. You can have some small plates there. It's also very nice. And the third one is the tea shop. It's also their first one that the boss, Monsieur Lai, he do the tea.
Okay.
In his tea shop, and we can also taste the bowls there with the tea. So it's their first shop there.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
You said like it's super interesting the way that they do pairings with the food, with the different dishes in the tasting menu. Are there do they use like classic teas or like something really crazy? Like I don't know.
A lot of different tea from China because the boss, the owner, he's from Hong Kong.
Okay.
But he knows a lot of different tea from China. So in his tea shop, he suggests a lot of different tea, and also he's doing also like a tea for the day. Like today, he has one tea that is the tea of the day. You can taste that. And after that, he suggests some like 3 or 4 different tea on the menu. And if you are someone know a lot of tea and you ask him, maybe he can do another tea that you ask for.
Okay. And what is Yamcha in China? Is it like a way of eating and drinking tea or?
So Yamcha, that means drink tea.
Okay.
Yamcha. Yam, that means drink. Cha means tea. So Yamcha is drink tea. And so as you know, the owner, the Monsieur Lai, he came from Hong Kong. So Hong Kong, is just close to Canton. So close to our province, Guangdong. And our province, Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau, we have a culture very similar. That means Yamcha is like something we do a lot. And in fact, Yamcha, when we say, for example, when we meet some friend or when we go to eat with our family and we say, hey, let's go Yamcha, that means let's go and to have the breakfast together. So yum cha it's become a activity that it's we are going to have a breakfast together.
Okay.
So why it's a breakfast? Because when we have the breakfast with the dim sum, we always have some tea together. We drink teas, we eat dim sum, and we take times to spend with family, with friends. And we can do that every day if you have time, of course. Every day you can do that as the breakfast. Otherwise, usually it's like at the weekend where with the family, we do that like a brunch, something like that.
That's it for this week's episode of Potluck Food Talks. If you like what we're doing, make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. You can also find us on Instagram and TikTok as Potluck Food Talks. The show airs every Monday.